Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam.
When Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio was elected Pope in 2013, he took the name of Francis.
For me, he is the man of poverty, the man of peace, the man who loves and protects creation.
So the name for Francis was very, very significant. And he made it very clear from the beginning that it wasn't Francis Xavier, it was Francis of Assisi. And of course, for we Franciscans, we were delighted. Many things are Franciscan about Pope Francis. Certainly his love for a simple lifestyle, for living that evangelical poverty that indicates how we depend upon God for everything and our great trust in God's providence, not on wealth or power. His desire to be connected to the little people, to people who are suffering, to the immigrants, the hungry, the homeless, and to try to show the merciful face of the Father.
St. Francis's influence can be seen throughout Pope Francis's pontificate. For example, St. Francis heard God's call to rebuild his church. Pope Francis too, albeit in a very different role, also heard his own call and set about his own church reform, encouraging synodality in decision-making and completing a new apostolic constitution to guide the work of the Vatican.
Cardinal Sean O'Malley of Boston was one of just 9 cardinals representing the entire world to serve on a special commission called the C9 to discuss and advise the Pope on these reforms.
I think that the Holy Father has responded to a call to rebuild the church as Francis did. Certainly, all of his work around safeguarding has been such an important step forward in the church, and being part of his commission for the protection of minors, I see how he has become so personally involved in this mission of healing, and also his desire to assure people that the church wants to be transparent and faithful in the use of our temporal goods, and transparency and with the financial resources of the church, the reforms of the whole financial system of the Vatican.
At the same time, Pope Francis advocated for the care of our common home in his 2015 encyclical Laudato Si', the title itself taken from St. Francis's own Canticle of the Creatures, and the follow-up 2023 exhortation Laudate Deum on the climate crisis. In 2020, Pope Francis put a Franciscan stamp on his encyclical on human fraternity and social friendship, Fratelli Tutti, or Brothers All, by signing it in Assisi. From smaller things like choosing a simple vehicle and frequently calling people on the phone to bigger things, Pope Francis Franciscanized the Vatican and the Roman Curia, says Franciscan spokesman Father Enzo Fortunato.
Let's think about the barbers for the homeless. Let's think about the showers to the bathrooms to the beds for people who have nowhere to go, who have no destination. His choices truly began to make the poor at home in the church, not in separate facilities. For so many years, we made the Caritas centers, the facilities for the vulnerable, to visit prisoners. Instead, Francis, we could say, wanted them with him at home.
Potremmo dire li ha voluti con sé in casa.
Over the course of his reign, Pope Francis even went to Assisi more than any other place outside of Rome. The likeness has also been noted in Franciscan convents like St. Clare's in Rome. For Mother Elena Francesca Beccaria, his actions have left a Franciscan imprint.
Mainly, what I believe this will leave me with is a sense of respect for the other, understood in the broadest sense, the other with a capital O, of course, but also the other as my brother, the other as creation itself. It's this attentiveness, this care for others and for the created world that remains with me.
At the order of the Franciscan Friar Minors' Rome-based headquarters, the Minister General, the 121st successor to St. Francis himself, saw the resemblance between the saint and the Pope in Pope Francis's vision for the Church.
Le priorità del pontificato mi sembrano queste.
St. Francis was an evangelizer and sent us to preach the gospel, and this anxiety is felt in the Pope. I would also say this very great universality that stands out in the patron service of Pope Francis that St. Francis in his time had very clear, crossing frontiers, and this encounter, this stubborn search, even here for encounter with the Muslim world, that the Pope promotes. Some, even in the Church, call him naive, saying, "Isn't it difficult to truly dialogue with that world?" But even here it seems to me that Pope sees further. He understands the value of signs.
Anche qui mi sembra che il Papa vede più lontano, ha presente il valore dei segni.
During his pontificate, Pope Francis visited more than a dozen Muslim-majority nations, promoting and encouraging what he called human fraternity, peaceful coexistence. Pope Francis forged a close relationship with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar in Egypt. In the early 13th century, St. Francis also paid a visit to an Egyptian Muslim sultan. Before he became Pope, Francis had a close friend in another Muslim leader back in Buenos Aires, Sheikh Omar Aboud.
Le da a San Francisco un tipo de valentía particular.
Historically, St. Francis had a particular kind of courage. Well, that same courage is also the courage that Pope Francis has today, not only in terms of demanding peace, of saying no to war, but we are at the gates of perhaps one of the most important voices in reference to the geopolitical vision that exists in the modern world, the Third World War and pieces. It is not a slogan, it is a reality. So, in that sense, in a time that also had some warlike particularity, to encourage to talk, to approach, to exchange, is not the whole solution to the conflict, but it is surely a part of the solution.
No es toda la solución del conflicto, pero sí es una parte de la solución seguramente.
A messenger of peace and dialogue, the connections between the 13th century saint and the 21st century pope are many. Looking back, what began when Jorge Mario Bergoglio took the name Francis at his election can now be seen as the thread that connected the plan of his pontificate.